Hi, Lou. When the PCT asked me to do this video on what you and Pastor have meant to me and how you've impacted my life, I was extremely humbled. There's just so much, so I'm going to have to talk fast just to hit the highlights. It all started back in 2001 after I'd spent a week in the hospital with congestive heart failure. Derek had given me some scriptures to read on healing and invited me to House of the Lord. He said he knew that I wasn't hearing this type of a teaching where I was attending. I decided to visit the night before I was supposed to go into the hospital for an ICD, pacemaker and defibrillator. Nobody knew I was coming, but I heard Pastor call somebody forward who had had a bad report from the doctor, and I just watched for a while. Nobody went forward, and finally I went up. He laid hands on me and prayed in tongues, and I finally surrendered my spirit. My heart felt like it exploded, and this warm honey feeling just came down all over me, and I had such peace I couldn't explain it. The following day, I woke up in recovery after the surgery, and I asked the surgeon, I said, why don't I feel this box in my chest? I don't have any pain or anything. I feel really good. And he said, Diana, I've never seen anything like this. In all the years of my practice, he said, it's just something I can't explain. He said, we got you under anesthesia and we did more testing. And he said, you've had some kind of a miracle between last week and today. He said, we decided not to do the procedure. Well, that was enough to get my attention, and I started attending House of the Lord faithfully every Wednesday night, but I was still going to my other church on Sundays because I had commitments there. Derek told me if I came to House of the Lord every Wednesday and Sunday for a year and committed to that I wouldn't know myself after that time period, and he was right. 2 months later, I was at my other church, and I was headed towards the front of the sanctuary. It was a large church, and I heard this voice say, sit in the back. And I thought it was somebody talking to me, but nobody was. And so I heard it a second time as I moved forward. And before I got my foot on the floor, I heard it a third time. And he said, I'm not telling you again. Sit in the back. Well, I realized it was the Lord. And so the hair stood up on every part of my body, and I turned around. I went to the back of the church. I had no idea what was going on. And in a few minutes, I heard him speak again, and his voice was very soft, very loving, and he said, this isn't your home anymore. So I got up immediately, left, and went directly to House of the Lord, and I've been there for 20 years. I know with certainty, no doubt in my mind, I would not be alive today to make this video had I not heeded that call. Not only was Pastor Jim my spiritual father, but I looked up to him as a father in the natural too, because I never really had a father, and neither did Derek. So he was very important in both of our lives. Some of the principles that I've learned from Pastor Jim that we were able to apply were, when we're born again, we get a blood transfusion. We have the DNA of God flowing through our veins, and we're released from the curse of our ancestors. That was so pivotal for me at that time with this serious disease that I was battling. Fast forward 2 years, I heard the Lord tell me during a praise and worship service to get a reflexology certification. Had no idea why, but I went that weekend. I checked. There was the school I graduated from was in Austin that weekend. Haven't been back since. Took me 2 years to get through. I practiced for 2 years, and then I finally realized why I heard that message. And you'll hear more about that later. In 2005, I had another attack. We were in the Caribbean, no medical assistants nearby, no nurses, no doctors, anything. Derek got a signal and called Pastor. He prayed for me, told Derek to take authority. He prayed over me for 20 minutes before I could start to breathe and get some oxygen. Took him 4 days to get me back to the United States, and on the 5th day I was admitted to the hospital and told I had a heart attack and I would need an ICD implanted or I would die. I called Pastor from the hospital the day before surgery and told him about it, and he said, you need to pray. You need to do whatever you're led to do. He said, but ask yourself, are you going to let the devil steal your testimony? I'm going to end this here because it's 5 minutes.